All right, we know that Razorback baseball has officially ended in the SEC tournament, but that's okay because they have much bigger fish to fry with the regional that's going to be coming up. Don't know exactly what seed Arkansas will be, but I think we're all very confident that Arkansas will be a national seed. They'll be hosting regionals and hopefully super regionals if they make it that far. But to talk more about that, we welcome into the show, friend of the show and guest every single week here on the John Neighbors Show. It is former Razorback Tyler Spoon joining us thanks to the Bank of Fayetteville in downtown Fayetteville. And Tyler, as always, man, appreciate you joining us. How you doing this afternoon?
Man, I'm doing good. It's about to be the best time of the year for me. This is my March Madness.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's basically upon us, and I know we'll get into kind of the forecasting of it, but I do want your thoughts. SEC tournament, 0-2 in barbecue. Arkansas loses to South Carolina, then they lose to Kentucky. Just some people want to win, some people don't like losing the way they did. But just what was your vibe and takeaway from it all?
Don't get hurt, anybody. That's kind of the goal. But obviously you want to win. The second game, especially, we just made a few errors, and obviously, if you look, South Carolina's just playing pretty good right now. So they just beat us. So be it. But I think more than anything, man, it's just I understand everyone wants to win the SEC tournament and do well in the SEC tournament, but it just doesn't matter. Just don't get hurt. Have everybody ready to go next week, and that's more important than anything else. So, again, don't like going 0-2, but you also like the fact that they're going to get some rest and get ready to roll for next week when it matters most.
Yeah, so let's look at like the SEC tournament in general. I know like some people like getting out of there 0-2, some people like advancing in it. But I thought it was interesting because I know not only do you watch Arkansas baseball, but SEC baseball, the top four seeds all lost in their very first game. And, obviously then they all played each other and one of the teams had to win from each bracket. But what did you make of that? Do you think it's more of kind of they're all on the same page of, hey, let's not pitch our best guys, let's not go out there, let's just see what happens? Or, I mean, did you make anything of it as far as the top seeds ending up all losing in their first game?
No, I think that everyone's kind of on that same page. The top four seeds are all, I'm pretty sure all going to be at least maybe all national seeds. But at the end of the day, man, it's just don't, they're at the same, they're all about, the schedule and the routine. That's more important for their starting pitchers than winning a game at Hoover. They were all under the same regiment, I should say, that throw off on the first day. Don't get your guy out of routine and then throw him Friday or Thursday, Friday, whatever day it was that they played, and just let them get ready for next week. That's it. You just want to kind of keep them on their routine, keep them on the same schedule. You don't want to throw them on a Wednesday now instead of a week or 8 days. Now they have to wait almost a week and a half until they throw again. That's a completely different deal. So it just takes a little bit longer. It's just kind of get the pitcher out of the rhythm, and more than anything, no one wants to get their Friday night guy out of the rhythm. So it's everyone was kind of in the same mindset, it looked like. And again, at the end of the day, do you want to win? Yes. Does it matter? No. So.
Well, also with the pitching, I know we got to see a few guys, and something. This is more for also heading into the regionals and all that. Like Hagan went out there, had a little bit of a struggle compared to what we normally see, but I don't know. Playing at 9:30 is early in the morning for baseball. I don't care what anybody says. So, but you got to see a little bit of Hagan, and then Molina and Tigert. Those are kind of the two guys that have been the other starters, and Molina's look fine, but Tigert's still kind of off there. But what do you just make of the pitching situation overall heading into the regionals for Arkansas?
Yeah, I mean, hey, like you said, hey, people don't realize how hard those 9:30 games are, and those guys are up at 6, which normal people out there are like, oh, well, we wake up every day at 6, whatever. Well, these are college kids sleeping until 10 o'clock every day, so it's a completely different feel. It's the 9:30 games are the worst in Hoover. That's the one benefit of winning is you don't play those 9:30 games. But the pitching situation, it could be a little bit better, but at the end of the day, it's just like our pitching staff's been unreal all year. So it's like you just trust Hobbs, trust TVH, and know that they're going to put a good product out there. And bottom line is, no matter how good your pitching staff is, you got to hit in the postseason. You have to. So it's going to come down to our offense, how our offense does, I think. And the offense is going to have to win games. You can't let the pitching staff win every single game for you in the postseason, because you get the postseason, man, there's just a little bit more intensity. Everything else, all the at-bats mean a little bit more, and there's going to be a lot more big hits, a lot more big plays. And so you're going to have to come up with the big hits, and that's how you win in the postseason. So I'm not too concerned about it. I think I wouldn't be surprised if you see, kind of a Hagan game 1 and then maybe a TBD, for now. And then, maybe figure it out on Saturday. Maybe it's Molina, maybe it's Gage Wood, maybe it's Tiger, but you know, Tiger's just gassed, and again, he's just leaving the ball in the more hittable areas right now, and you can't do that, especially when you're tired and your velo's down a little bit compared to what it was early in the year. So, I'm not too concerned about it. Pitching staff's been great all year, and at the end of the day, it's going to come down to the offense. And the offense has to show up.
Well, speaking of the offense, I know that there were a few guys that were saying in the press conference that they feel like the offense is getting better. I know that
Yeah.
there's still it's just a matter of I feel like a broken record, getting guys, runners in scoring position in like that. That's what it really comes down to each and every game, it seems like. But do you feel like the offense has been at least getting slightly better, at least showing some signs of life? Like Stovall's hitting 350 this year. So, he's been about as solid as there is. And Aloy, he has his moments, but then he has his rough times. But just overall, how do you feel about the hitting right now?
I definitely think it's getting better, and it feels like we can score at least 4 or 5 runs a game, which it's not an elite offense, but it's still coming further than where we were to start the year. So I think again, it's just contagious, man. Like Hudson White, I feel like Hudson White was kind of the one that when he clicked, it seemed like the offense started going really well. But you just got to have one guy step up and sometimes get the big hit, and you know get the big home run, walk off hit, whatever it is. Sometimes you just need something that one guy to do it, and it kind of gets everyone else going. So, could our offense be better? Sure, but I do not hate where the offense is compared to what it was 2 or 3 months ago. So I think they've come a long way, starting to put some things together. So hopefully we can keep that rolling into the off season or postseason. And again, if Diggs starts going like he can, that would just be such a huge addition. So, I like it. I like where the offense is, and at the end of the day, it's a new season starting today. Next week is going to be very different from what it's been the last 2, 3, 4 weeks. So.
Speaking with Tyler Spoon, former Razorback, here on the John Neighbors Show, thanks to the Bank of Fayetteville in downtown Fayetteville. So, Tyler, we don't know exactly what the draw is looking like for Arkansas in their regional, but I think we're all on board saying that they are going to be a national seed at least. But since they lost so early in the SEC tournament, I guess in one way it gives them a lot more time, whether it's to heal up, rest up, or whatever it is. So, as a former player, what kind of is that lull like when you go from the SEC tournament, especially if you have an early exit where now it's like, what is that, 8, 9 days off between that and getting postseason going? But what are the players doing? What are the coaches doing? What's that mentality like? What's that stretch like before the postseason really gets going?
But it's really nice because the guys are just getting, rest. They're getting rest, and they'll probably have some live at bats at some point in the next week, just to make sure the guys are still seeing live pitching, whatever it is. But this is the time where DBH, if I had to guess, it's going to be, Monday, Tuesday are probably going to be pretty intense practices. If I had to guess, work on the things you really got to work on and get ready for the next week. But, you get to Wednesday, Thursday, it's going to be pretty light, BP, do some defense, and then call it a day. Just make sure the guys are fresh, So, man, it's a good time, especially as a player. This is my favorite time of the year because you don't have school to worry about. You're going home, going to sleep, waking up, going to play baseball, and then doing it all over again. So it's, it's a really good time. You don't have anything else to worry about. Guys can just focus on nothing but baseball. Don't have to worry about school. It's just about, hey, let's get our mind right to play some baseball and, get our body right and get ready to roll.
Well, and also something that I've always found fascinating, I went back and looked. Whenever Arkansas's hosted a regional, Dave has always done the 2 p.m. game on Friday, except for one time.
Mm-hmm.
There was only one time he didn't do it. And so I'm always curious, is there a method to the madness there? Usually people are like, oh, we want to be in front of the biggest crowd with the night time. But it seems like Dave's always liked that earlier game on Fridays when they've hosted. Have you noticed that? And if so, why is that?
I think part of it comes down to, if the teams play before you, you don't really get to watch them as much. And so, because you got to get your team ready to go. So I think, you play that first game in the regional. After that game's over, you are focused on the next guy. And you can, those guys can go, DVH, Coach Warnes, Thompson, Hobbs can spend the rest of the night watching and scouting both other teams that are playing and whatever team they're going to play next. So I think that's part of it. But, guys just hit differently in different ballparks. And so they can kind of study the offense, kind of take a look at some arms, maybe some bullpen arms that may come in. But more than anything, they just kind of can get a feel of the teams and how they're playing when they come in here. But playing that, getting that first game out of the way, just his preference. It's just what he likes to do. But I think part of it goes into the watching the other teams behind him, just seeing how they're playing. Coming into bomb.
Well, also with the regionals, it seems like Arkansas, at least last year, of course, the TCU team came in. It didn't go very
Yeah.
well for Arkansas, and even the year before, or at least the time when Arkansas hosted previously, that Nebraska team was really salty as well. But as far as the matchups and the seeding, just I'm curious, what are your thoughts on how they seed regionals? Because some people complain about what does it matter about being so close in proximity? That shouldn't matter, but what do you make of how they see these teams and how they put together the regionals when it's usually based on geography?
Yeah, I think it's the unspoken that the NCAA just doesn't want to pay for travel for everybody. They don't do it according to the actual seating. What they do is they, you know, get it close to what it is, and then they decide, okay, this is where, and if it's between Oklahoma State being a 2 seed or, I don't know, Stanford being a 2 seed at Arkansas, they're going to put Oklahoma State because they don't pay for all the flights for Stanford. They just, pay for their, bus there or whatever it is. It's a lot cheaper for them. So, that they, just keep everything regional. And I think more than anything, it's just NCAA doesn't have to pay for as much. Be honest, it sounds terrible, but that's the truth.
Mhm.
So it's tough, and especially around Arkansas, there's just a lot of tough teams. So it's like I feel like we always have somebody tough in our regional. So just like us getting paired with TCU, like that's tough. They were really, really good. They were just the hottest team in America last year. They just happened to be put in our regional, of course. So and yeah, it's tough. It's one of those things. No one probably a lot of people aren't going to say out loud, but that's how they do it.
Yeah, I was even thinking when went to Stillwater when Arkansas went there to play Oklahoma
Mhm.
State. Those Oklahoma State people, I talked to some of the media. They kind of said the same thing. They're like, "Man, Oklahoma State got kind of screwed getting Arkansas, into that
Yeah.
regional." So, yeah, it is the unfortunate part about it. But I know that when Arkansas has been so great at home this year at Baum. I mean, their record has been great no matter what, but extremely strong when they're playing in front of their home fans. But when it comes to atmosphere, approach, all of that, how much of a difference is it from going into an SEC 3 days, game series in the weekends at home to now regionals at home? Like, does it change at all as a player, or does it feel kind of the same way as if it is a true home game?
It's different. I mean, I think the best way I can describe it is as a player, picture, game three against A&M or Tennessee. It's the bottom of the ninth and you're up one, and you've got one inning, you got to hold them. And that intensity you feel as a player, that's what every single inning is like in a regional and super regional. The intensity and the focus and like just the, amped up, how amped up you are is just, it's through the roof. So it's just, and some guys rise, they play better with like that. Some guys play worse like that. So it just, postseason brings out the best in guys. So we're going to see who can handle it. And maybe we're just a, team with, you get put the spotlight on us and put more pressure and more intensity on us. Maybe we're just 10 times better. Who knows? So it's going to be, it's a different feel to say the least. Even at home, there's a lot more, jitters. There's a lot more adrenaline running. It's just, it's fun though. It's a lot of fun. So just hopefully we can come out on top. And again, being at home helps a lot. Having the crowd behind you. There, like we talked about it last week, but there sometimes can be that little bit of added pressure of like, okay, we're at home, we got to take care of business. We're the better team, blah blah blah. But it's a clean slate, man, and anything can happen in baseball, and can't count your chickens at all. So it'll be good being at home though. That gives us a good advantage to say the least.
Well, and you also you talked about it. I'm curious, as just as an individual player, do you have to change your mentality? Like it feels like even though you're at home and everything, do you have to change your approach to the game, knowing it's postseason? Like, hey, this is do or die. Do you approach it differently, or do you try to approach it? Hey, this is just another game, same as always.
I mean, you always want to try, yeah, you want to obviously try to just approach it, your routine and everything the same. But I think, the preparation and just like the focus is just so much higher in the postseason. It's kind of, no, DVH isn't going to say it, but, or he might say it, but you got to win game one in a regional. You got to win game one. Like that's the most important thing in the world. So You think about that stuff as a player. It's like we got, if we lose this game one, like we're out of the driver's seat. Like this is going to be hard to claw back and fight back. So, there's definitely, I wouldn't say a different mindset. There's just a little bit more, a little bit more urge to like, hey, we got to get the job done. So, but again, maybe we're just a team that rises to that occasion, and I hope we are. So, we'll see. It's a different feel as a player. It's just the intensity. Yeah, that's the best way to describe it. Just the intensity is so high, and on every pitch, every anything, it's just crazy. Way more adrenaline.
Well, you remember, of course, when you were playing and going through the whole process, and of course, this crazy thing with the super regionals and being able to host when technically
Yeah.
you didn't, we shouldn't have, but still, you'll take it. But either way, what was some of the things that, at least in the regional, that stood out to you the most? Because I believe you guys went over to Stillwater for that regional. So what kind of stood out to you the most about that weekend on your run to the College World Series in 2015?
That weekend, especially, man, I just remember getting there and feeling like we're the best team here. It's like, and nothing against that Oklahoma State team. They were really good, but like we were playing good ball going into, postseason. Like we were like, we're the best. We got a good draw. That's kind of how we felt. It's like if we can win this regional, we've got Missouri State, and knowing the situation of like we're going to host, it's like we really liked our odds. We just were confident. We just grinded it out, man, and just found a way. And that team, 2015, talent wise, was not the best, but like, man, we knew how to win games. We found a way to do it. So, um, it was a good feeling. It was one of the ones like 2014 and going to Virginia. I remember thinking like this is going to be really really hard because that was the best college team I'd ever played ever. But 2015 going to Stillwater was like we're the best team here. We should win this. So yeah, and sometimes that's good. Going on the road, being somewhere else, having that not as much pressure can do that to you too, where you just feel like okay, I feel really good. But again, that 2014 year where we went to Virginia, we drew the short straw. We just ran into a buzzsaw. That was the best college team I've ever seen.
Well, and also, I've always been fascinated in talking to you about Dave because, of course, Dave's been to regionals, College World Series. I mean, this it's almost just routine for him at this point in time. But what you remember him as a coach, how did he approach it in postseason? Did anything change? Did anything adjust with him just from what you saw as a player going into those postseasons?
No, not at all. And that as a head coach, you got to stay calm, cool, collected. Your guys are going to react to how you react to things, and I think he's definitely going to be more sensitive to the matchups and the left on left, right on right, all that stuff. He's going to be way more sensitive to those things and probably going to, make the moves a lot more pinch hitting, a lot more, pinch running, whatever it is, he's going to do a lot more of the little things in the postseason. And it's really more about just like every at bat having the best option at the dish or best option on the bases or on the field defensively. So, but he's always calm, cool, and collected. Like you said, he's been there so much, and but he also is very good about letting you know the importance of each game. It's not like oh this game doesn't matter. It's like hey it's time to show up and time to go. So, but he's the same old DVH. He's just intense no matter what game it is. He hates losing, just like SEC tournament. I'm sure he was not happy about losing two games, but just how it is. But I think it'll be he just does a good job. He's just level headed, calm, cool, and collected, and keeps the team ready to roll.
Yeah, I don't know if you got to see his mid-game interview during game two. It didn't seem like he was really looking to talk after all the errors that the team had and everything. You could tell he wasn't happy. But I did find it fascinating, and I'm pretty sure this is the case. I know it's very low, but it seems like Dave Van Horn, when he's been at Arkansas, he's either lost in the regionals or gone to Omaha. Like, for whatever reason, when he gets to the Supers, I believe he's only lost one time in the Supers, and that was against NC State back in 2021. I could be mistaken, but I know if it is just one other time. But what do you think is about that? Like, I found that part really interesting where, being in postseason every year but one at Arkansas, it's either regionals or Omaha each and every time. Like, why do you think that is?
I think a lot of it is because you construct your roster sometimes around you got to win 3 game series, and you got 3 really good starting pitchers. I think the way he manages the game and how he the team kind of goes throughout the season. We are unbelievable at 3 game series. But get to a regional, man. It's a lot of it just comes down to you really got to hit. You really have to hit because if you go to a game four, man, it's tough. Because I mean, both teams are in the same situation. Though. You got to have a fourth guy, and you got to be ready to show up. And it's going to be an offensive slugfest. You got to show up and go. But I think regional is just man, everyone's just fighting for their life, and like Nebraska, I think in Nebraska especially, they were just really good, and I think they drew the short straw that year. That was the year I think we were the best team in the country and ran into the hot NC State team. But you have three other teams, man, and the thing with the regional, especially the game two, you think about it, you're playing the next day. If you win game one, you're playing a team that just won their game, so they're feeling good. It's tough, they feel really good. So really, that's why the percentages are so high that whoever wins game two obviously is going to more than likely win the regional. So it's tough, man. You just gotta go 2-0. You gotta win Friday. You gotta win Saturday. And it's it's hard to win two games in a row. It is, but you get to a super regional. If you lose game two, you still have game three. Never know what could happen. So
well, and also like I was thinking back to what you just talked about with Nebraska. I think that they were also like it was a big surprise to everybody that they didn't get a host, like, and the fact that they got matched up with Arkansas, the number one seed. Like I remember thinking how that seems off because I always think in the way of like college basketball, hey, 1 versus 16 and all that. But speaking to that, do you think that there should be, or would you like to see any adjustments made to how the format of the postseason in college baseball is? Or do you think they stick to what it is where you have double elimination in the regionals, 3-game series in the supers, and same thing in the early part of Omaha? Like, would you like to see anything different in the postseason?
I think, obviously you would like to see, because I think of Arkansas when we've been, number one, number two, number three, and I feel like we just somehow draw the short straw with putting a really good team in our regional, even though I feel like when you're a top three team, especially, and you get a really, really, really good team 2 seed in your tournament, I feel like you're just kind of getting hosed for having a good year. It's like you should be rewarded for having such a good year. But at the end of the day, it's tough. I wish they would do it according to the actual seeding and the actual ranking at the end of the year. I know that's hard, but that's what I personally would love to see. But like we talked about earlier, NCAA don't want to pay for travel, but 2, the more regional you have things, the more fans from other teams that are going to travel to see that game, and that's more money for the NCAA, depending on where the park is and all that good stuff. And so at the end of the day, it comes down to money. It's kind of the unspoken. It's the truth though. So I wish they would do the true seeding because again, you get probably the 17, 18th best team in the country, Nebraska playing the best team in the country that year at Arkansas. And, it's like that Nebraska team could have easily gone to the 16, 15 seed and won that regional, won their super regional, been to Omaha. But instead they got put at Arkansas and just drew the shorts of straws. So I wish they would do it differently, but it is what it is.
Yep. No excuses now. You got to find a way to navigate it, but it's going to be hopefully a great one, and we'll see where Arkansas gets seated on Monday on Memorial Day. But Tyler Spoon, who joins us each and every week, thanks to the Bank of Fayetteville in downtown Fayetteville. Tyler, as always, man, we appreciate it. Enjoy the Memorial Day weekend, man, and I'm sure Arkansas is not going to get screwed in any sort of way in their seating, and it's going to be perfectly fine and no problems whatsoever.
Oh, I'm sure we'll have 3 division champions in our regional. It's usually how it goes. But hey, looking forward to it. Best time of the year. Hopefully we can put it all together. Thanks for having me this week.